You're all set to begin, Jake.
All right. I will call to order the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025 at 7 p.m. to all persons interested in or affected by the action of the Zoning Board of Appeals. You're hereby notified pursuant to Section 11 of Chapter 48 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and all amendments thereto that a public hearing on the following appeals will be held today, Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. The Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing will be held by remote participation methods. Public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. The meeting will be televised live via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel live stream on the Town of Barnstable's website, which is http://streaming85.townofbarnstable.us/cablecast public site/watch/1?channel=1. Real-time access to Zoning Board of Appeals meeting is available by utilizing the Zoom link or telephone number and meeting ID provided. Public comment can be addressed to the Zoning Board of Appeals by utilizing the Zoom link or telephone number and meeting ID. The Zoom link is https://townofbarnstable-us.zoom.us/8411578863 or calling 888-475-4499 and entering the meeting ID 841-1578-8632. Applicants, representatives, and individuals required or entitled to appear before the Zoning Board of Appeals may appear remotely and may participate through accessing the link or telephone number provided above. Documentary exhibits and/or visual presentations should be submitted in advance of the meeting to anna.brigham@town.barnstable.ma.us so that they may be displayed for remote public access viewing. Copies of the applications are available for review by calling 508-862-4682 or again emailing anna.brigham@town.barnstable.ma.us. So first I will call the meeting to order with an introduction of board members. Herb Bodenseek.
Present.
Paul Pinard. Paul show up? No Paul currently. Mark Hansen.
Present.
Aaron Webb is absent. He's intending to join after executive session. Larry Hurwitz.
Present.
Manny Alves is absent. Rodney Tavano.
Present.
Natalie Pittenger.
Here.
And Natalie is here, and I am Jacob Dewey as chair. Notice recording the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel in accordance with MGL Chapter 38, Section 20. I must inquire whether anyone is recording this meeting. If so, to please make their presence known. Seeing none, we don't have any minutes, and we're going to go into an executive session here. Just so people know, so they don't wait around too long, appeal number 2025-006, James Clark and Christine Clark is going to be continued to May 14th, and appeal number 2025-008, Randolph and Barbara Noel is going to be withdrawn. Where are my cheat sheets of how to go into executive session? All right. In appeal number 2023-010/Wendy's LLC, executive session for the purpose of discussing litigation strategy with respect to the case in Land Court 24 MISC 00088 by Arista/Wendy's LLC for the property at 715 West Main Street, Hyannis, originally appealing the denial of a special permit to construct a drive-through window at a Wendy's fast food restaurant, then appealing the grant of the special permit with conditions upon remand order by the land court, and the filing of a complaint for contempt against the ZBA for the remand special permit conditions. I, as chair, determined that an open session could be detrimental to the board and the town's litigation position, and so we'll make a motion that that the Zoning Board of Appeals convene an executive session under General Law Chapter 30A, Section 21A3 to discuss the litigation strategy with respect to Arista/Wendy's LLC versus the Town of Barnstable Zoning Board of Appeals at 715 West Main, Hyannis, based on this decision that open meeting discussion may have detrimental effect on the litigating position of the Zoning Board of Appeals. In the appeals, and the board will return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session. And I need a second.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you ask somebody to make that motion to go into executive session?
Oh,
the
would
discussion.
someone else
of
like to
litigation
make that
strategy.
motion?
I make the motion to go into executive session. Mark Hanson.
And I need a
I'll
second.
second that.
I second.
Okay, roll call vote to going into executive session. Herb Bodenseek,
In favor.
Paul Pinard, are you here? No. Larry Hurwitz,
In favor.
Mark Hanson,
I'm in favor.
Rodney Tavano,
In favor.
Natalie Pittenger,
In favor.
and Manny's not here, correct? No. And I'm also in favor. So we'll go into executive session. We will return to regular session once completed. Hopefully, I think we'll get requested to go into breakout rooms.
1 second.
All right, thanks, David. has joined us, and Paul Bernard did join us in executive session. He was just not here at the beginning of the meeting. So first order is old business. Appeal number 2025-006, James D. Clark and Christine D. Clark have appealed an administrative official decision. The petitioners are appealing the notice of zoning ordinance request for enforcement denial dated January 24th, 2025 under MGL Chapter 48, Section 7. The petitioners submit that the decision of the administrator's officials dated January 24th, 2025 was an error, as the structure was erected at 968 Main Street is not a pole supported by wires / ropes and burlap, but was constructed with 4x4 lumber cemented into the earth, extending approximately 20 feet into the air directly on the common property line draped with burlap, which encroaches on 978 Main Street. The subject property is located at 978 Main Street, Katuitt, Massachusetts, as shown in Assessor's Map Part 034 as Parcel 032. It's located in the Residence RF zoning district. This was continued from March 26, 2025 and April 9, 2025. Members of Salem were myself, Herb Bodensig, Paul Bernard, Mark Hansen, and Rodney Tavano. We received a letter from attorney Michael Schultz requesting this be continued to May 14th, 2025, which will be an in-person meeting. Do I have I'll make a motion to accept that and continue this to that date. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Herb Bodensig.
In favor?
Mark Hansen.
I'm in favor.
Paul Bernard.
In favor.
Rodney Tavano.
Favor.
And I am also in favor. Those are the members assigned. So that moves that item. Next up is appeal number 2025-008. Randolph J. and Barbara G. Noel have applied for a special permit pursuant to section 240-131 4D2A, change, expansion, alteration of structures. The applicants are seeking to increase the height of the structure from 14.9 feet to 16.28 feet in connection with the demolition and construction of a dwelling in accordance with the plans by Sullivan Engineering Consulting, Inc. and James Philip Golden Architect. The subject property is located at 34 Short Beach Road, Centerville, Mass. As shown on Assessor's Map 206, Parcel 041. It's located in the Craigville Beach District, Long Beach, Short Beach, CBD, LSSB, in the District of Critical Planning Concern, DCPC. This was continued from April 9th, 2025. And we did have a letter from Attorney Schultz requesting to withdraw this item without prejudice. So I'll make a motion to withdraw 2025-008 without prejudice.
Second that. Mark.
Roll call vote on the withdrawal. Herb Bodensig.
I'm in favor.
Paul Bernard.
In favor.
Mark Hansen.
I'm in favor.
Aaron Webb.
In favor.
Larry Hurwitz.
I have a question before I vote. I'm going to be recusing myself from this appeal when it's heard. Should I not vote at this time?
It was never opened, so it's just a withdrawal.
I'm in favor of that.
But you can abstain if you prefer.
No, I'll recuse myself from the final hearing.
Okay.
Oh, this is the final. They're withdrawing.
Rodney Tavano.
Favor.
Natalie Pittenger.
In favor.
All right, so that is withdrawn. All right, moving on. Appeal number 2025-010, 1185 Falmouth Road LLC et al. Has applied for a special permit pursuant to section 240-57, circumstances warranting reduction of parking requirements. The applicant is seeking relief from the parking requirements to convert 2 existing parking spaces into a outdoor patio for the Buttercup Cafe. There are 14 existing parking spaces on the property and 413.
Mr. Chair, I think you missed one, 2025-009.
Oh, yep, you're right. I have that one.
I apologize.
Sorry. Sorry. Back to order. In appeal number 2025-009, Christy Laux and Ross Jatkala have applied for a special permit pursuant to section 240-56, schedule of off-street parking requirements in section 240-57, circumstances warranting reduction of parking requirements. The applicants are seeking relief from the parking requirements, which would require 14 dedicated parking spaces at 47 Warehouse Road. Under the ordinance, the applicants propose shared parking with the tenants at the jointly owned properties of 47 and 63 Warehouse Road. The subject property is located at 47 Warehouse Road, Unit 3, Hyannis, Mass, as shown on Assessor's Map 293 as parcel 050. It's located in the Business B zoning district. So sitting on this will be our regular members, Herb Bodenseek, Paul Pinard, Mark Hansen, Aaron Webb, and myself. I believe Ms. Locks, are you speaking to this to start us out?
Sure.
I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong.
You pronounced it correct, and nobody
Okay.
ever does, so thank you.
So go ahead when you're ready. Just give us background and information on the project.
Okay, we are at 47 Warehouse Road. We do personal training by appointment only in our facility. And I believe we are short a half parking space, which is why we're asking for a special permit. What else do you need to know?
I mean, I guess that's sort of it. I guess just a little background. So how many square feet is the space and how many people, you said it's by appointment only, so it's not very many people at a time?
Yeah, so it's right around 2,500 square feet without the loading dock. And we only take up to 10 people at a time by appointment only.
Okay.
How many parking spots are there currently?
With the shared parking lot, it's 26.
You can just introduce yourself for the record.
Yeah, this is Ross Chicola.
Okay, thanks. Yep, go ahead.
So we have 14 in front of our building and then the shared section, we have up to 26.
Okay. So
What's the issue?
I believe what,
Wait a minute, Jim's waving his hand here.
go ahead, Jim.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, in assistance to the applicant and the owner came forward to the planning office after having a discussion with the building department when it was identified a new use was coming into the building. When analyzing the new use, it went to site plan review. Considered site plan review, and there's a letter in your package stating no detriment. So the building department noted that this is an allowed use and it meets zoning. However, it does appear to be short parking per the new use. And so as the applicant rightly noted, there's 26 parking spaces between the two properties. So the two properties being 47 and 60, sorry, I had it right in front of me. 63, is that right? The two warehouse structures right next to each other, owned by the same property owner, Mr. Watson, who's on and can speak to it. Technically, as the parking analysis shows, between the two properties, they need 41 parking spaces where they only have 26. However, the parking analysis that they provide show that the reduction of parking for shared use could be warranted by this board, given the actual needs of the uses is significantly less than the 41 required. And so the applicant is essentially asking for a reduction of parking for the parking that is currently there. No, and the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, but no changes to the exterior, no changes to the parking are being requested, and it's the parking that's there is sufficient for their use. And the owner is here that's saying that may be able to suggest that it is more than sufficient for all the uses that are at the two buildings there.
So Jim, would you say we're leaning on 24057A, use of a common parking lot area by different uses have different peak hours of demand?
Exactly right.
Okay. So the other uses in the, and maybe Mr. Watson can answer this, the other uses in the other buildings that share this parking are what?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
In 63, there's a tile warehouse, and they have one employee in the building, and you might have 5 or 6 trucks come in on the back side of the building, not using the parking at all. So there's really no use of their parking. by customers or employees. The employee that's there, he parks around the back of the building by the mall there. And then there's just the other two uses in the property are just storage warehouses to store products. And there's very little coming and going there.
Speaking.
Go ahead, Paul.
Clarify that a little bit, that last bit.
Could someone introduce who's speaking here?
That was Conrad Watson, the owner of the property.
Okay.
The applicant's the tenant.
So did you have a question, Mark?
Yeah, so you said that there's only essentially one or two employees in the tile, and then the other one is what? Could you clarify that again? You said some spaces. I mean, what is it used for? How many people? I know they have deliveries, let's say, or something, but what is that space?
There's 3 units in 47. One of them is a supplier to drugstores and things of small items, not prescription items or anything like that, cigarettes, different types of smoking products, various and sundry like things you see when you walk into a CVS or a Walgreens, something like that. And if he's there once a week, it's unusual. He'll come in and load up a truck and then distribute it through the week. It's just a single owner, single proprietor business.
So
and
not
then the
a
other
retail
one,
establishment.
huh?
Not a retail establishment.
No. Oh, no.
Okay.
And then the other is Lindquist hotels that store their construction materials when they do a place over.
Okay. Thank you.
Do other board members have questions for the applicant? No, seeing none. I will open public comment on this matter. Don't think there was anything. The site plan review letter is there. From
Jake, I've raised my hand raised.
Okay. If you'd like to speak, just say your name and address for the record and then make your comment. Go ahead, Mr. Bloom, Councilor Bloom.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I appreciate the chance to speak here. Charlie Bloom, Oak Street in Hyannis. I'm speaking wholeheartedly on behalf of the applicants who, as you know, have been providing a healthy and valuable performance training service, particularly for the benefit of the youth of Hyannis and the town of Barnstable. Many of these young people live in my precinct within walking distance of the facility. And I believe you have a letter from Conrad Watson dated March 29th. In that letter, he extols the work of Ms. Laux and Mr. Giacola. And they are entering their 3rd year at Unit 3, not to mention that Mr. Giacola is the head coach for the Barnstable High School football team. But I do believe that the section 2457A works on behalf of these people, and in some senses, maybe in some sense, a little bit of B, C, and D also do too. But given the valuable service that Mr. Giacola and Ms. Laux provide, I urge you to grant relief from the parking requirements that would otherwise prevent them from doing their good work and keeping kids off the streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this?
I just have a few comments. Ross, since he's been football coach at the high school, there's a whole list of kids he's gotten into college there, and through his guidance, there are some kids that have gotten into colleges that no family member has ever been in college. And you can see some of the things he does. I think I enclosed a brochure there that he has free speed training sessions with Christy at the high school. And he's just an upstanding member of the community.
Thank you. Anyone else before we close public comment? All right, I'll make a motion to close the public comment, but the public hearing is still open.
Second.
Second. Roll call vote on closing the public hearing. Herb Bodenseek.
Favor.
Closing public comment.
Yes, in favor.
Paul Pinard,
In favor.
Mark Hanson,
In favor.
Aaron Webb,
In favor.
and I'm also in favor. So public comments closed. The public hearing is still open. Does anyone else have any more questions? I guess one of my only concerns is if the uses of any of the other spaces changed, would the new tenant or the property owner have to come to the board for their parking demands? Sort of how would this restrict on that? Maybe town planner Kupner, you can help us with that.
Yep. So based on past practice with the building department, if there is a wholesale change of use that would be in a different category than what exists, they would have to do a very similar path here to permitting, where if it doesn't meet the required parking, they would have to come back in to the Zoning Board of Appeals and ask for that same reduction of parking. You would then have the understanding of you've already potentially reduced parking for, say, this use, and that would have to be a discussion had. But that would be the process if another use change that would require additional parking.
Okay. Anyone else with any more questions or comments? Go ahead, Aaron.
So I'm more curious about to the applicant, how long they've been in business, and is this a new location, or you're just getting started in business and at this location?
Hi, so we're just getting started at this location and in business.
Gotcha. Perfect. So that's my only question. I'm in favor of this.
All right, so unless anyone has anything else, we can close the public hearing and someone could make findings. So I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, roll call vote on closing the public hearing. Herb Bodenseek,
In favor.
Paul Pinard,
In favor.
Mark Hanson,
I'm in favor.
Aaron Webb,
I'm in favor.
and I'm also in favor. So the public hearing is closed. It brings it back to the board for deliberation with no more testimony. Does anyone want to make findings?
Yeah, this is Paul. I can maybe, but anyway, my comment is that I was by there yesterday midday, and half the parking places are empty, and so I don't see an issue with this at all.
Okay.
Jake, Mr. Chairman, I can't access meeting materials here at my house, so I would volunteer to make findings on behalf of this. I'm in favor.
I can make findings.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Let's see. With regard to special permit number 2025-009, Lokes and Jacola Watson, 240-56 and 240-57, schedule of off-street parking requirements. For all special permits, the board is required to make general findings pursuant to 241.25C. Board should review the evidence presented by the applicant, staff, and members of the public, and after weighing such evidence, is encouraged to articulate if and how the evidence contributes to each of the required findings. That number one, the application falls within a category specifically accepted in the ordinance for grant of a special permit. It's been noted by the building department, Brian Florence, that this is eligible for that. Number two, after an evaluation of all the evidence presented, the proposal fulfills the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected. Evidence has shown that of the 26 parking spaces available at any given time, their use may be only 10 to 15 spaces. And an anecdotal observation by one of the board members shows that parking lot during midday hours is sparse. Three, a site plan has been reviewed and found approvable with conditions. Site plan review committee issued a no detriment letter on February 24th, 2025. Those are my findings.
All right, do we have a second to approve the special permit based on Mark's findings?
Second. Okay.
Who was that seconded? Yeah, I couldn't. Aaron. All right. All right, so roll call vote on approving the special permit based on the findings. Herb Bodenseek,
I'm in favor.
Paul Pinard,
In favor.
Mark Hanson,
In favor.
Aaron Webb,
Favor.
And I'm also in favor. So that is approved. Now, Mark, do you have some conditions? With
I do. With reference to staff, staff here at on April 10th, 2025 for staff report. So, Christy and Ross, there are four permitted conditions that have been put forth. Have you read those? Are you okay with those conditions?
I don't see those conditions.
I can read them if need be, Chairman.
Oh, sorry, I have them right in front of us.
So you'll be bound by these conditions, and if anything changes, you'll need to come back to the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you're fine with those?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest special permit conditions number 1 through 4, again, referencing staff report dated April 10th, 2025.
All right, roll call vote on the conditions. Herb Bodenseek,
In favor.
Paul Pinard,
In favor.
Mark Hansen,
I'm in favor.
Aaron Webb,
In favor.
and I'm also in favor. So you have your special permit.
Good luck.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much. Thank you, everybody.
Guys, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in. All right, moving.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from this hearing if that's okay. I apologize.
Nope, that's fine. All right, so moving on to appeal number 2025-009. Sorry, no, 0010-1185 Falmouth Road LLC et al. Has applied for a special permit pursuant to section 240-57 circumstances warranting reduction of parking requirements. The applicant is seeking relief from the parking requirements to convert 2 existing parking spaces into an outdoor patio for the Buttercup Cafe. There are 14 existing parking spaces on the property and 413 parking spaces located within 300 feet of the property. The required parking under the ordinance is 35 parking spaces. The subject property is located at 3224 Main Street, Barnstable, Massachusetts, as shown on Assessor's Map 299 as parcel 029. It's located in the Village Business A, VBA, and the Residence F2, RF2 zoning district. Aaron Webb's going to recuse himself. It will be our regular members, Herb Bodenseek, Paul Pinard, Mark Hansen, myself. Natalie, do you want to sit on this?
Sure. Okay.
Natalie, sit on this. And I believe I'm turning it over to Mr. Lee or...
Good evening, everybody. It's actually Ashley McCormick. I represent Buttercup Cafe and Melissa Jankowski. They are the business owner. Also on the call is a representative from the Falmouth Road LLC, Rich Noonberg, as well as Garrett Horsfall from Kelly Engineering, who did our site plan work as well. So our pleasure to present to the board tonight. By way of background, I'll be very brief because it is getting late. But Melissa has been managing restaurants on Cape Cod for over 20 years. She's really talented at what she does. In 2020, she fulfilled her goal of opening her own restaurant. That is the Buttercup Cafe. She managed to survive the pandemic. She's open 7 days a week for breakfast and lunch. It's become a quick staple in the community in the downtown area. And she relies substantially on the income based on the summer and the outdoor seating that was fortunately grandfathered in during the pandemic. And this is our first time going through all the formalities of that outdoor parking area. We've gone through the informal process back in December. The board had, or the site plan review team had some very thoughtful comments. I think the 2 most thoughtful comments were that any changes to the space would require an extension of the wheelchair ramp on the property, as well as concerns over the safety of patrons within the parking area who may be dining. And so we've committed in our proposal at the site plan review and before you all to install more permanent planter type structures that would protect the safety of anybody dining within those 2 spaces from any potential cars or other traffic in the area. I would say that the board we passed formal site plan review at the beginning of the month, and I will turn it over to Garrett Horsfall for just an overview of the more technical side of our presentation for the parking relief.
Thank you. For the record, Garrett Horsfall with Kelly Engineering Group. Can I share my screen? That's okay.
Yeah, I think David, you might have to make him a
All set.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. So for reference, the subject parcel is about a 16,000 square foot parcel, 3224 Main Street on Route 6A. It's surrounded by a mix of commercial, residential, and public uses. We have the county complex adjacent across the street, the fire department here, the market complex here, and I believe the Dolphin restaurant and associated other small businesses in the vicinity. The site itself has 5 existing uses. There's a real estate office, the post office, hair salon, singular residential dwelling, and the Buttercup Cafe, which is located at the corner roughly my cursor is. There's currently 2 curb cuts off of Main Street here, and the site functions in a singular direction of flow to utilize the angled parking in front of the facility. Currently today, there's 14 parking spaces along on the parcel to support the building. The proposal is to convert these 2 spaces to an outdoor patio to support the use. During site plan review, we did agree to add a planter box here for vehicular protection from any pedestrians congregating here for the uses. And then the ADA upgrades include connecting the ramp to the existing ramp accessing the post office facility and continuing that along. There's also going to be 2 new steps added here just for other access into the facility. Right now, there's a step into the facility. So as part of this, you're making this an ADA compliant entrance as part of the upgrades here. Just a little bit more into the context of the parking in the vicinity. As I stated, the municipal lot is over here. There's approximately 308 spaces representative here. There's slightly more if you were to expand into the other courthouses, but we've used the municipal area as part of our count. There's 15 on-street public parking spaces denoted by the lighter blue dots, and the existing 14 spaces here on the lot, but 12 would be on our locus at the end of the day. And then adjacent, just behind north and then east to the facility as well as to the west is a total of about 78 spaces. So total within, lots within 300 feet, there's about 413 spaces that are, within 300 feet of the property. Staff has reviewed the proposed plan here, issued a favorable staff report, and I believe we've reviewed the recommended conditions with the applicant and their team, and are agreeable to these conditions, and we're glad to answer any other comments the public and the board may have on this project.
Thank you. I just have a couple quick questions. How many staff members does the business generally have?
Depending on the season, it's my understanding it ranges between 12 and 20.
Okay. And are they currently parking at the county complex always?
I'll turn it over to Melissa to answer any of the day-to-day questions, but sorry.
Yeah, Melissa, just introduce yourself for the record.
Sure. Hi, I'm Melissa Jankowski, owner of Buttercup Cafe. Currently, we do advise the staff to park across the street. Of course, sometimes on a rainy day or other times people, don't listen and they park out back. But I do instruct everyone to park across the street.
Okay. And then I guess I don't know the intent and restrictions on the county complex parking. Has that been researched in terms of is that allowed for any use there, or there's no restrictions on it at this time?
So it's our understanding that it's just a public lot. There's no signage limiting its use or any hours or restrictions on any public parking. And it's certainly open during business hours that the Buttercup Cafe would be open as well.
If I may, one restriction I have noticed is no overnight parking that's enforced.
Certainly.
And do we know what the demand load of that parking lot is? Does it ever exceed 80%? Is it ever at 100%?
I'm a practicing lawyer in the area. I've never seen that parking lot 100% full. I just anecdotally, but.
Okay. And Garrett, how many parking spaces do you say are on the street there, public street parking?
There's 15 within the 300 feet, but that it obviously does extend further outside of that radii. Further up 6A and to the east and west, there are more public parking spaces, but within 300, it's 15 plus or minus.
Okay. Did any other board members have questions for the applicant or their team? Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, just real quick. So I'm assuming that this space, and obviously I'm gearing this towards Melissa, the space is more of a seasonal space. Is that like what months would you plan on using that?
It's been used for the past 4 summers, the end of May, June, July, and August, and up until Indigenous Peoples Day. And it's always weather permitted. We in the past have set it up and broken it down daily. So on a rainy day, it was not in use. It was just seasonal.
Okay. So really this is more of a 3 to 4 month use, and the rest of the time it could actually still be parking, correct?
That's how it has been. Yeah.
Okay. And so my only other question, and maybe this is for Garrett, the flower box or the planter that was proposed to be put, is that something weighted, or was there ever talk of like removable bollards or anything like that? I know that seems a lot, but if somebody does hit the gas instead of the brake, is that planter going to be significant enough to? It's slow moving traffic. I mean, I'm aware of that. I get it. I'm just wondering what the conversation was regarding the barrier.
So at the site plan review, the team seemed to suggest that we should run the potential barriers through Old Kings Highway Historical Society to make sure that they would comply with the other planters that are in use in the neighborhood. They did encourage us to examine the ones that are in use, but given that we were given that comment a month ago, no one has planters out right now. But we are going to run any purchase and make sure that it's satisfactory to them from that perspective, and also just to make sure that it wouldn't be movable from slow moving traffic, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I was just curious from a safety perspective. I mean, I get they like things to look congruent, but more if, a 90-year-old, they're there a lot, right? So they're getting the mail and they're coming out always in that direction. And I'm not picking on 90-year-olds, but if there was a car that did happen to go quickly in that direction, is that significant enough to at least significantly slow a vehicle? That was just
certainly that's the goal upon purchasing, and I know that it's quite an expense, and so we've held off until obviously this hearing. But luckily, knock on wood, the past 4 summers there hasn't been anything close to an issue like that.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, they have speed bumps like I've never seen before, right along that stretch, and there's scrapes on the pavement to prove it. But I don't think speeds get very excessive right there. Anyway, thanks.
Does anyone else have anything for the applicant?
Go
ahead, Natalie. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So it's definitely seasonal. So it's very obvious when the tables and chairs are out of the way that the parking is available.
It certainly would be. I mean, I think the way the permitting process would allow for the planters to remain there all year, I don't know that there's a seasonal option for the board, but certainly from the business's perspective, she wants to make it accessible and easy for all customers. So if the tables, it's not a season where people would use the tables, it certainly makes sense to make it easier for customers to get in and out of the facility.
Right. Like I meant more for like a rainy day or a bad day that you wouldn't.
She would typically break those down. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so it would be clear and obvious that those were back to parking spots again.
Sure, but I would, given the season, if we have a rainy day in the middle of the summer, for example, the tables may be broken down and put away, but the planters would remain for the season because it might just be a one-day event.
Okay, so the planters do block off that area, right?
The proposed planters would be pretty significantly heavy, and they would block off those 2 spots, yes.
Okay.
So the 12 spaces that would remain, are those signed as for the Buttercup Cafe only, or are these being shared?
They're for the entire complex, the real estate office, the post office, and Buttercup Cafe.
How many total parking spaces? There's 14 for all of those businesses.
Correct,
That's
yes,
it.
which is already under the amount that there should be. There should be 35.
35 in total for all of the businesses combined?
That was our analysis based on that parking.
Okay. So have the other tenants, blessed this? As they're losing parking spaces as well?
So there was no formal objections presented at the formal site plan review, and the owner of the property blesses the. Obviously, he filed and supports it. So if that's the position, I would imagine no other tenants have complained directly to their landlord, and I don't think anything's been brought to the board.
Okay. Any other board members with questions for the applicant? Go ahead, Natalie.
Yeah, I thought there was a letter of objection.
From a member of the community.
Yeah, from a member of the community, and I can't seem to locate it right now. I had it just a minute ago, but he was just saying that, sometimes it's you jockey for the post office spot. He jockeys for a post office spot and he can't get it and he has to ride around and whatever. So I guess I'm just wondering and hoping that this wouldn't create a situation such that people will be getting angry enough to, I don't know, get into a problem over the parking spaces.
I mean, all we can do is kind of speak to the past 4 years, which thankfully there's been no significant issue.
So it has been 4 years that they've been doing this.
Yes, they were grandfathered in through the COVID allowances for outdoor seating.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So it's been in existence. Okay. All right.
Anyone else have any questions before we open for public comment? All right, seeing none, I will open for public comment. We did receive the one letter from, what's the name? If this would load. Jade Dugas, raising concerns about this dated April 14th, 2025, and raising concerns about parking and different situations there and congestion. Is there anyone here who want to speak to it? Just raise your hand, state your name and address for the record. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly. Just unmute yourself. You're still muted.
Hi, this is Bob Kelly with the Dolphin Restaurant, Doll Smith Trust, 3250 Main Street. The issue I have is they quote as 413 parking spaces within an area, but they don't realize that 90% of those parking spaces are private property. They're not owned by the town or even the county complex is private for the county to use. So parking's an issue everywhere. It's just, you have 5 businesses trying to live off of 14 spaces. Employees alone would cause an issue. So, taking away, I understand it's been going on for a couple of years because of COVID, but I think that piece of property is already saturated, and to lose 2 more spaces wouldn't be beneficial to the neighborhood. So we're against it at 3250 Main Street.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else to speak to this from the public? Go ahead, Mr. Bilzikian. Just name and address the record.
3220 Main, the Barnstable Market property. I know you say there's 14 spots currently. There's 1 residential, there's 1 handicap, so I'll call that 12. And then we're going to take away 2. That makes it 10. Does the restaurant seat more than 10 people? I think it does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Then the other part is I think that the information Garrett submitted is uninformed. misleading. It doesn't show the truth of the parking. A significant portion to the left is for my tenants, where I have tenants and I have promises to them to park. And should not be counted on this parking study. I won't speak for the Dolphin, but I would assume they're under the same thoughts that they've spent their time, money, and energy conglomerating parking to make their businesses work too. So I think these parking numbers that were submitted for this are misleading and not true for what's available for the public. And I'm a little hurt that this would be submitted like this in the parking plan without me knowing, without me being called or consulted. I only got this notice when it came out recently, so I had no real chance to submit it early. As you know, it was April vacation week. We had vacation with the family. So I'm here kind of at the last minute, just trying to review what's here. We all have our challenges in the village. I think the Buttercup Cafe does a really nice job. They're a nice added to the community. But this, I just think the way the parking has been tallied here and misrepresented doesn't give a clear picture of the parking pains in the area. I know we all try to work together. I just, I think it's unfortunate, and everyone loves the outdoor dining and stuff, but, with the post office and the other businesses, it's really a lot of stress in the area for parking. And I can't really support the taking away of 2 parking spots, as if I took away 5 or 6 or 10 parking spots in the village. It'd be hurtful to everybody.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak to this? No, seeing none. If you do, just unmute yourself and introduce yourself. All right. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close public comment.
I'll second.
Roll call vote on closing public comment. Herb Bodenseek.
In favor.
Paul Bernard. Mark Hansen.
In favor.
Natalie Pittenger.
In favor.
And I'm also in favor. So public comment is closed. The public hearing is still open. Does anyone have any further questions, discussion for the applicant, or thoughts? I guess I wish there was a little more something on how the county complex is used. Can you not get a licensing agreement with them for parking spaces to meet the requirements? I think just saying there's parking there that doesn't have a sign is a little vague. But it's definitely, there's a lot going on in that building and a lot going on with those, what would be 12 parking spaces. So definitely a little bit of concern there. And also any thoughts or questions? Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to speak anecdotally for a minute. I have maintained a post office box at that location for probably 20 years. I frequent most of the businesses in that area. I really struggle to think of a time when I was unable to find parking, certainly in the height seasons or in those times around 4th of July and places like that, when obviously general store and places like that, they do protect their parking. Certain areas protect their parking. I always felt like the areas had found sort of a natural flow of how they work. Most people hit the post office sort of in the morning. The Dolphin doesn't really open until noon. There has always been an availability to park behind. I don't think many people stay there. I think the people that are servicing these businesses, they're in and out. I don't know. I am not a landlord in that area, and so I can't necessarily speak from that point of view. But I don't see how the two spaces really are going to affect it. You know, whether there's 300 spaces or 200 spaces or whatever the case may be. I just think the two spots are better utilized as the rest. You know, for restaurant use. That's my personal feeling.
Ms. McCormick, what's the situation with the spots in the rear? Are those are owned by someone else? Is there a parking agreement?
Those are, I believe Melissa can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that those belong to at least one residential tenant, and I'm blanking on the others that might have access, so I'll turn it to Melissa.
They belong to the
It's a telephone company.
Oh, there we go. I also just wanted to highlight with respect to the other businesses, post office is closed on Sunday. The hair salon is closed 3 days a week, and the real estate office is only used by appointment. It's not a daily staffed office in terms of the traffic generated within the building itself.
Okay. So just back to that question. So is there a parking agreement with, I guess, the New England Telephone Company to use that, or they're just using it? Because it's not on the parcel, correct?
Correct. It's not considered part of our parcel. Customers are not encouraged to park there.
So there's no agreement to utilize those, 13 spaces or something back there?
They're back there. I think people use them. People sometimes park there, but there's no agreement.
Does someone have an agreement? One of the property owners in the area?
I don't know of any other restaurants or businesses that might have an agreement.
Okay.
I'd like to comment. The parking spaces behind the building are owned by the Dolphin Restaurant.
Okay.
The phone company building has 2 parking spaces on the post office side and a alleyway parking spaces. The post office building owns approximately 10 to 12 feet beyond their building behind. All the parking spaces are part of 3250 Main Street, the Dolphin Restaurant.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. And then, Ms. McCormick, did you approach the county complex to see if you could get a parking agreement with them?
We did not. I mean, public parking, assumed it would be sufficient for this appeal process. I mean, I'm happy to try to facilitate that if that's meaningful to the board's decision. If we reconvene, but you know, we were trying to get before the board as soon as possible to potentially open for Memorial Day weekend. I understand the frustration by the business owners in the area. I know it's limited parking, you know, and everybody on the board obviously frequents the downtown area. It's a historic district. It was not set up to, I don't think it ever imagined having the amount of people that we do on Cape Cod now. But I think that's a positive thing that the businesses are doing well. It's thriving. People want to be there. You know, I echo Mr. Hansen's comments. I think 2 spaces in the grand scheme of things are better used supporting a local business than just generally being given to parking. I will candidly say that Ms. Jankowski is unaware at this point if this petition is denied, whether her business will sustain beyond a year. She heavily relies on the summer income and people sitting outside to sustain a profit in the business.
Okay. My concern here is we just keep, you know, like with, you know, that sounds like there's a residential tenant, they're probably parking in the back. Well, if the Dolphin at some point clamps down on that and says, hey, no one can use those parking spaces, where are those cars going to go? You know,
they're going to do what they do now, which is find a spot further up the road that's, you know, part of the metered parking or the spot parking on the road, or they're going to go across the street as the business encourages. I mean, Melissa's already made a sign encouraging people, you know, or we've already talked about ways in which we can encourage customers specifically to utilize the lot across the street and not impact other businesses.
Yeah. Again, it's just hard for monitoring and enforcement for our enforcement team. Mr. Bilzickin, we did close public comment, but if you have a quick comment, we can take it.
So I'm just trying to understand. So then the tenant is making the application, not the landlord on behalf of this.
No, the landlord is making the application. Tenant through formal site plan review, and the landlord is supporting the application and has filed the application.
Any board members have questions, or does someone want to close the public hearing, make findings or thoughts? Natalie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have another question. I'm just wondering how many customers does she have? Like, say, from 7 to noon, or prior to the Dolphin opening?
Like, how many seats does she have in the restaurant? Or how?
Yeah, no, how many customers? What's the turnover?
In the summer?
Yeah.
I'll turn that over to Melissa, your best guess.
We aim to seat all of our seats. We want them all to be full. That's
right. So how many seats do you have?
How many times you turn it?
49 seats inside.
49, okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. These two parking areas, how many customers do they serve? I mean, how many can sit out there?
It's 4 tables with 16 seats.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I really wish that you were coming in with an agreement with some of the abutters to share, especially when we're talking that, maybe the Dolphin operates at a different time. This is a breakfast and lunch place, and the Dolphin's more of an afternoon dinner place. So, could an agreement be made? That's sort of the intent of the bylaw here, I think, is shared parking. I don't know that the county, again, without a letter from the county complex stating that, yes, our parking lot is intended for the village of Barnstable to use for all business purposes, it's hard to say, oh yeah, there's 400 parking spaces over there. Sure, yeah, they can just be used. You can tell us it's a public parking spot. I don't know what the deed says on it. What does it say that it's restricted for? Is the intent it's only supposed to be for people using the county complex? Or is it for the whole village of Barnstable? I think it's just a little gray there.
Right. I mean, our understanding is that the only restriction was prohibition against overnight parking.
But what if they decide to develop a new building there in the middle of it, and their parking goes from 300 to less spaces, or they decide to start charging for parking or utilizing it for something else? It's just hard. If we grant this, everyone has to go somewhere for a 50-person restaurant. That's potentially a lot of parking.
Sure. I mean, as long as the courthouses are there, I mean, I would say that it's the courthouse, the registry of deeds, 2 courthouses in the registry of deeds. I mean, those businesses are closed on the weekends. I highlight that, number one. And then number 2, I mean, that's a county complex. I can't imagine they would ever charge for parking. It's designed to facilitate those 3 buildings.
So do you think it's unattainable to get an agreement from them or get something?
I don't know I definitely don't know that it's unattainable. I'm certainly willing to ask, especially if that's a meaningful decision from the board. It's just time is of the essence. So I'll defer to the board if that makes a meaningful difference with the vote.
I mean, guys, I'm just one member here. So if you guys are feeling strongly about this, I'm just a little concerned.
Yeah, I have a question.
A lot of things happening in a very dense area of town.
I have a question about the landlord. The landlord is also the landlord of the post office, and they don't have a problem with 14 spaces, minus 2 really. Because I used to go to that post office fairly often, and I had trouble. There'd always be this jockeying for position, and I don't believe there was a restaurant there at the time. I've had trouble behind the courthouse when I believe it's a law office now, or maybe the DA's office, but it used to be a Bank of Boston. And I had a lot of trouble out behind there with overflow from the I guess it's the criminal court or something. But I've had, it's not a really great parking situation in Barnstable Village. And so I just see you taking 2 spaces that really aren't yours.
Well, Herb, it's a multi-tenant parking lot. So yes, these parking spaces are shared with the post office, the cafe, the hair salon, and the real estate office. So all of those tenants are getting less spaces.
Right. And I have a problem with that. But my question originally was, and I never really paused to allow an answer, but Is the post office one of the tenants?
So yes, that whole building is connected, and I do see Mr. Newberg, who's a representative of the landlord. I don't know, Rich, if you'd like to comment on that, but certainly the landlord does support.
Yes, my name's Rich Newberg. I represent 1185 Falmouth Road. We're the landlord. All I can say is that it's been running successfully from a landlord's perspective for the last 4+ years. The post office and the real estate office has renewed their leases within that period. So everybody's familiar with it, how it's run, and has continued to be happy to lease their space. I'd also like to just point out that the real estate office it has to be the smallest office in history. It's only about 150 square feet or something. It's more like they use it for, I think, more like marketing, and they have some private meetings there occasionally, but it's very small. So it's part of the tenant count, yes, but it's a very small operation in general.
Mark, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I don't know if this is helpful to the board, but I was just reading a document. It says Barnstable Village Parking and Transit Program prepared by the Barnstable County Cape Cod Commission Transportation staff. It does speak directly to the general county complex parking lot usage. It says for the general public, spaces that are not designated or signed. These are open to anyone, including employees, visitors, patrons of Main Street, and the general public. Currently, 521 spaces are available for the general public, which is approximately 80% of the total parking supply. Again, that's at capecodcommission.org. I'm not saying that's the law. I'm just maybe trying to provide some clarity or some additional information.
Okay.
This is Paul. First of all, whether the current real estate office is small and it has a couple of whatever is irrelevant, I think, here. We're allowing a special permit to a specific restaurant or a specific leaser. Ownership of it, and you could have any office go back in there instead of real estate. It could be something else that needs considerable parking. Secondly, the county complex is, if you can find a parking place up there, you're golden, because it is crammed daily. Either it's reserved for people or you have to park extremely in back, and you might find a parking place back there. So traditionally you have to go up to the court complex way up and back to find a parking place. Just for the record, for the majority of the parking spots are not available to the town. But I'm for, and so having said that, losing two parking places is almost irrelevant to the huge parking problem that's in Barnstable. I mean, they got a problem and a half, and I really am sympathetic to the market all the Dolphin, everybody up there, because everybody tries to use their spaces for other retail places in town. So the bottom line of what I'm saying, I don't know that two parking places in that mess up there really matters, given the huge extent of the parking problem up there. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was realized as to what was available for parking and what wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, just one of my concerns is there's a decent number of parking spaces out behind, which I assume that the post office is probably using. I think probably deliveries are going back there, but that's not this parcel. Those parking spaces don't belong to this parcel, and there's no parking agreement for them to utilize them. So I'm a little concerned if the owner of those restricted them and said, hey, you can't use these anymore.
The owner of those is here at the meeting. That's the owner of the Dolphin.
Again, that's not what's, I mean, they're not coming in with an agreement in front of us. It would be easier, I think, especially, the intent of the bylaw, if there was an agreement that they were saying, yeah, we don't use our parking spaces during the day, where at nighttime, there's more spaces and we're closer to the required number here to meet it. But we're really far off, 35 to 12. That's a big number.
That too.
But
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep.
The spaces at the rear, in order to access, they have to go through, this parcel itself to physically use those spaces. So it's just shared. There's no formal easement agreement, but to access the spaces, they do have to drive, to back in or out, even if you drive in, it does have to go through, this parcel to access those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to.
And so there is no recorded easement from either for them to access them. They're landlocked.
Pretty much, there's no formal easement from a title survey we've done, but it's more of, I think, a communal agreement between the neighbors that has occurred over the years.
Well, there is a drive beside the dolphin. I just don't know the direction.
Yeah, no, there's a drive beside the dolphin, and in between the other building, there's an alleyway too.
Right.
If someone wants to make findings, I'm not sure we want to go with this. If, I would feel more comfortable if there was a little bit of a collaboration agreement, whether it's a recorded agreement or not, between the different business owners that are sharing a lot of these parking spaces in this, very close area here. I mean, the applicant said, I think she has 10 employees. That's probably 10 cars. The post office probably has 2 or 3.
She's encouraging them not to park on site, to not take customer parking.
Also,
Correct.
a lot of my employees are 15, they don't drive, they get dropped off.
I just think it's a unique space that I think people understand the deal. I think if you're going down into Barnstable Village, you get it. You understand the parking. You understand you can't park at the general store during, major, during the summer. They have that, they have an attendant there. I think there's enough parking on the streets. I would not want to see a business fail for the lack of 2 parking spots. I just couldn't. I think it's a draw for all businesses downtown. I don't see the risk reward here. I agree. It's not a lot of parking. It's a terrible parking lot, in fact. However, I do believe it's a good use of the space.
But what about the consideration of the other businesses being impacted that have spoken up, and other businesses that haven't said anything, particularly ones that utilize these 12 parking spaces? I just wish there were letters from them saying, we've been notified by our landlord that this is going to happen and we're fine with it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other surrounding parking lots or the other businesses are, they have every right to, limit parking in their lots. I agree that, something from the other tenants, but I mean, as far as I can remember, it's been a restaurant. You have the real estate office, which nobody is ever in because most of the business is conducted across the street. The post office, which is there, and I'm not even sure what's in the end of the building. I think that's changed from here in their office, but
the hair salon.
Well, there's the hair salon. That's the
other end
there, but again, I don't know. I don't think it's a great parking lot to begin with, but I do believe that when you travel into Barnstable Village, you can find parking. It's not to say you can't is just not true. That's just not true.
No, I have to agree with Mark. I mean, I've never had trouble parking down there, and people even use the county parking lot for overflow for the boat ramps and everything else. Everybody uses those parking lots.
So does someone want to make findings, or what's our thought here? Or do I need to poll the group to get a sense of where we're going with this?
Yeah, I think generally I'm in favor of it, just simply because it's been going on for 4 years now. Okay, even though COVID's been gone for as many years. And so if the Barnstable police have had a lot of complaints about the parking situation there, then that might be a different story. But with that not being brought forward, I would be in favor of it.
Okay. Mark, it sounds like you're in favor. Paul, where are you at?
Yeah, no, I, as I said, I don't think 2 parking places makes a difference with that mess up there. So I'm in favor.
Okay. Herb?
Oh, you had to ask. I'd probably be opposed to it.
Okay. It's a special permit, so you just need majority. So Herb, Mark, and Natalie. So you've got 3. Does someone want to make findings? Or no, sorry, wait, who did I say? Paul, I am Paul, Mark, and yeah, you've got 3.
I don't know how to do that.
Natalie, you want to make findings?
Well, I don't really, I'm not as familiar with the verbose way of doing that. Mark does a better job.
Mark, you do this one. We'll get Natalie to do one in person next time.
Right, yeah, next
Yeah,
time.
that's fine. I just want to make sure I have the right one in front of me here.
Yeah, and we just need to lean on the bylaw there. Just make sure we sort of justify with the bylaw on
I think the bylaw says something about, extended parking nearby or something like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, so use of common parking area by different uses having different peak hours of demand, age or other characteristics of occupants which reduce auto usage, characteristics of use invalidating or methods of calculating parking demand, or supplementary parking provided off premises, which I do not feel that we can comfortably lean on supplementary parking provided off premises without at least a letter from the county. Like, yes, Mark referenced that, but it'd be really nice if there was a letter from the county saying that, they're aware of this and they're aware that this business is, expanding their parking usage into their area, and or if they needed to have designated parking spaces, they could.
Chair Dewey, can we, is that possible to make that a condition, or does that have to be something where they get it and then come back?
I would defer to the attorney on that. If it would leave them sort of out in the, I don't know.
I mean, I can't say that the fire department was present at formal site plan review. They're in that complex across the street, and they knew what our plan would be to suggest. I mean, I believe we floated the other parking spots, including the county. No concerns noted with respect to that. But I mean, I don't want to foreclose an ability to open for Memorial Day, but I also don't want to foreclose the ability at all. I mean, I'm happy to work with the board if it's a member of.
That's enough for your comments, please. Thank you. I don't think, the county is going to care whether 2 spots are going to, that's, I understand your thought, Mr. Dewey, but Mr. Chairman, but I think that's ridiculous.
It's 23, Paul. It's 23 spaces.
No, we're talking about 2.
No.
Talking about the requirement.
Requirement is 35. They're getting relief from 35 spaces to 12. But again, if you guys are comfortable with it, I would say proceed. I'm just saying make sure you lean on the bylaw and justify it in your findings.
Well, one other thing to note is, excuse me, the previous applicants jumped through hoops to get their parking spaces, which they clearly deserve, but they put in, they were more convincing than this applicant, I can say that, but the previous applicant really we put them through the ringer. They did get their special permit, but I think this is a different case. Thanks.
Yeah, again, it was just a little more clear on the bylaw that there was use of common parking area having different peak hours, and we had, we had more reference of what. Again, I wish there was a letter from the post office saying, "Oh, we're totally comfortable. Our parking demand is totally fine. We don't use the back." Again, I'm sure they're using those spaces that the Dolphin owns in the back, and I wish there was an agreement there. They said, "Oh, we have this agreement. There's another 13 spaces back here that we share and get used, and we have supplementary parking off premises." That would be where that would fall under 24057D, but we don't have any of that stuff in front of us. That's why.
To your concern about the post office, the landlord is the one applying. If it was a problem with the tenants, they wouldn't be supporting this position.
Well, we don't know that. We don't have a letter from them as the tenant.
I think the inference is fair. As Mr. Newberg just mentioned, the post office has renewed their lease for that location.
Were they told they only have 2 parking spaces in their lease and they can't park in the rear and all of their employees need to park at the county complex?
Their employees are restricted by the current parking already and have been already restricted during the summer months.
Again, they're not here to speak to that. Are they parking across the street, or are they Like, what's to stop them from taking up the 4 parking spaces in front of the building all of a sudden because something changes?
I believe there's only 2 or 3 staff during the day, and the postmaster general parks in one spot out front. And I'm not aware of what the other 2 employees do offhand. And Mr. Newberg is free to speak to that if he knows.
Okay. I encourage Mark, if you want to make findings, I'm just having a hard time with it. And
no, I understand. I mean, I get that part. Again, Attorney McCormick, we're trying. Sometimes you have to help us get there. You know, these are tenants that easily could be contacted. We have one more meeting prior to the Memorial Day.
Yeah, but they have the appeal period, Mark.
Oh, they have the appeal period, 30 days, right?
Again, if you guys are comfortable with it, I would encourage you to make findings, just to make sure you lean on the bylaw.
That's the 240-57.
Yeah. It needs to fall under such circumstances, so you could come up with other circumstances, but A, B, C, or D.
Well, it falls under A, right? I mean, it definitely falls under A, and I think you only have to have one of them. You don't have to have all of them. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have that in front of me. I'm looking for it. So, I mean, is this more really, when we look at it, are we really looking at supplementary parking provided off premises? I mean, is that?
I would look at A, not D.
Well, A is use of common parking area by different uses, having different peak hours. I don't know that that's true.
I feel like people go to the post office and they get breakfast.
I believe that most of those tenants operate during the same hours.
I mean, I think we could lean on that again if there was an agreement with the Dolphin to utilize spaces in the rear, or something of that nature, because they're more of a nighttime establishment than a morning. But again, we just don't have that.
Or would it, would it satisfy the board if there was a letter from, or a condition saying that they need a letter at least prior from the county, saying that those parking spots in the county lot are available, truly available for use?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think that would definitely help. I don't know what Paul sort of alluded to the fact that lot is full sometimes. Some of you guys have alluded that it's full sometimes. I have been there where it has been quite full, but usually it's because there's stuff going on at the courthouse.
Sure, but I think maybe just that more that it speaks to, it may be full, but it is available.
Yeah.
Because we could say the same thing about the parking that's on site. It is available, but it could be full. I'd like to have something at least that says, if we're going to go this route, again, I don't love the parking down there either. I've generally been able to park, but I think if it said those spaces are available for patrons and or people that are working on Main Street, then I think we could reasonably say that, that parking is available to this establishment and that the reduction of 2 spaces really is inconsequential in that instance. We could put it as a condition if Attorney McCormick, can obviously speak with the client about it. I don't know, just gauging where the board is right now, I think I'm willing to hear, does that satisfy anybody any more than currently they're sitting?
And I think you might have 3 in favor right now, as it is without that. I would feel much more comfortable with something that to lean on to 4057D if we had something. I just don't really feel like any supplementary parking has really been, sure, it's kind of there, but it's not. It's just assuming that they're giving us that they're giving the applicant that parking.
So, Mr. Chair, just to interrupt for a second, they will need 4 approvals to get the grant of a special permit. They'll need 4 members.
So I guess that's my question. Does an inclusion of a condition that they need to at least show that it's available, that the parking is available for use in the county parking lot?
Yeah, I think the county and or the rear parking at the structure at the plaza at this. I mean, that's significant parking that's behind there that is, I'm sure, being used for this
100%.
building.
Yes,
but
100%.
I'm actually shocked there isn't some sort of agreement or there's nothing, between the two property owners.
Mr. Chairman, the question I have is the parking behind. Who controls that? Who owns that? Is that the Blue Dolphin or is that the owner of the complex you're talking about?
The Dolphin Restaurant owns the parking behind.
Yes, the Dolphin.
So why couldn't the agreement be worked out whereby in the morning or up until noon, let's say, that until the Dolphin opens, that it could be used by Buttercup, but after that it has to be used by the Dolphin? Does that sound reasonable?
I would love that. If they had come in with that, I think we would have been done with this half an hour ago. Because it would show that they have way more than 12 spaces available for the property. My concern here is, Paul, that, especially where it sounds like the Dolphin's not super, supportive of this. They say tomorrow, you know what, we're putting signs up and we're going to start telling people that aren't our customers. And then there really will be a very large parking problem.
I've been to the Buttercup several times and I never knew there was parking behind. Even Blue Dolphin, I mean.
So how do we want to proceed? Mark, do you want to?
I'd like to propose it with, and again, Attorney McCormick, I'd like to propose it with a number 5 condition that you at least can get a letter from the county saying that the county lot is available for parking. Not that it's designated to you, but that it is available for patrons and employees of Main Street.
Some type of confirmation from the county itself, like an individualized letter, or do you want me to cite or are you satisfied with citing a particular, legal document or standing document like the one you just alluded to a moment ago earlier?
I think we can defer to something satisfactory to the building commissioner representing evidence that the county complex space is available for business patrons, not associated with the county complex.
Well, how about just public parking? If it's open to the public, doesn't that include the business?
I mean, the public's invited to go to court. Are they there to go to court or are they there to go to shops on Main Street? I don't,
General public.
General public is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Again, I think we can defer to Commissioner Florence that he understands our intent and what he's satisfied with.
Okay.
As evidence that parking is available for the patrons of the Buttercup.
Yes, because the other, rightfully, the other tenants and the other businesses on Main Street, they have the right to their parking exclusively, especially if it's signed, which I believe a lot of it is, behind that building. So, to my recollection, so I think this is the only viable, acknowledgement that there is in fact additional parking. So I would be leaning on D as really the off-site available parking. I mean, it kind of falls apart if it isn't, which is why I want to add it as a condition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense.
Attorney McCormick, does that sound something? I mean,
certainly. So, but just to be clear, are you looking for a letter that says this, an individualized one or response, or are you satisfied with, documentation that?
I think we say evidence satisfactory to the building commissioner that exhibits that there is supplementary parking provided at the county complex that's, satisfactory to patrons of the cafe and other tenants at this parcel.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, so we'll make a motion to close the public hearing. No more testimony will be made.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote on closing the public hearing. Herb Bodensee,
I'm in favor.
Paul Pinard,
In favor?
Mark Hanson,
I'm in favor.
Natalie Pittenger,
In favor?
and I am also in favor. So the public hearing's closed. No more testimony can be made. Mark, do you want to make findings?
I will present and then we can vote. With regard to special permit number 2025-010-1185 Main Street LLC et al. 240-57 schedule of off-street parking requirements. 1185 Falmouth Road LLC et al. has applied for a special permit pursuant to section 240-57. Circumstances warranting reduction of parking requirements. The applicant is seeking relief from the parking requirements to convert 2 existing parking spaces into an outdoor patio for the Buttercup Cafe. There are 14 existing parking spaces on the property and 413 parking spaces located within 300 feet of the property. The required parking under the ordinance is 35 parking spaces. The subject property is located at 322 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass. For all special permits, the board is required to make general findings pursuant to 240-125C. Board should review the evidence presented by the applicant's staff and members of the public, and after weighing such evidence, is encouraged to articulate if and how the evidence contributes to each of the required findings. That 1, the application falls within a category specifically accepted in the ordinance for a grant of a special permit, which it is. Number 2, after an evaluation of all the evidence presented, the proposal fulfills the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected. I find that in number 2, that evidence can be presented that there are sufficient available parking spaces located off-site, and I reference 240-57D for available off-site parking in the county lot across the street by the courthouse. Number 3, that a site plan has been reviewed and found approvable with conditions. Site plan review issued an approval letter on April 3rd, 2025. Those are my findings.
And I would just add on number 2 that this has been operating for the past 4 years in this, and there have not been complaints. Yeah, there have not been complaints on record from the public that it has been a detriment to the public. Do I have a second for Mark's findings to approve?
Second.
Roll call vote on the findings. Herb Bodensee.
I'm on the fence, but I'll say I'm in favor.
Paul Pinard.
Favor.
Mark Hanson.
I'm in favor.
Natalie Pittenger.
In favor.
And I am also in favor. Mark, your conditions?
Yes, so with regard to staff memorandum dated April 10th, 2025, I have suggested permit conditions number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'd like to add a number 5 condition in that the petitioner will provide evidence satisfactory to the building commissioner, satisfying evidence of the ability to use the county lot as a business and for patrons.
I'm going to suggest a 6, and you guys can say no, but I think we need to put a 6 in there if there's a change of use on that parcel that they have to come back to the board.
I would be okay with that.
I mean, there's a lot of square footage there that anything could happen. I mean, there's a lot of allowed uses in the B, I think was that VB district. And I think we would just need to revisit it and make sure that use is compatible with the parking that's available.
And then would that be referenced at site plan review or?
Anna, how would that be? That would be on this special permit, which would be recorded on the deed anyways, right?
Right. So if there's a change of use, it would require site plan review and then coming back to the board.
So maybe we say requires site plan review. Any change of use requires.
Well, any change of use is going to always require site plan review, but they would catch it there and send it to the board for approval if there was a change of use.
Mm-hmm.
Are the board members agreeable with that? Or do they think that's a good idea or a bad idea?
It's a good idea.
I am. I'm good with that.
Okay.
The other question,
So that goes on the deed for the entire property.
Yeah, so basically, like if the post office goes out of business and someone tries to put a, who knows, convenience store, mini market in there or something, they'd have to come back to the board and demonstrate their parking demands and how they're going to meet them.
Has there been any discussion? I don't see any discussion here. Is this a seasonal
It is.
requirement? I didn't see that in the conditions.
I mean, I think the intent is seasonal, but I don't know if it's being deconstructed for the winter months. It's staying there, right?
That's my question. Why, given the winter weather and, and the post office and everything, and obviously it's not going to be used outside. Why isn't this conditioned as a seasonal issue?
It could be. I don't know what the structure is going to be made of. If that could be, we haven't had a lot of snow for a while, but snow storage is always a concern in parking lots of these kind of size and scale, and you dump onto the marsh in the back and such. But I don't know. Ms. McCormick, is this planned to be taken down in the winter months, or is it planned to stay across these two parking spaces always?
I mean, the intent would be that it would be up during May through October, as Melissa referenced. But again, we haven't purchased the planters, so I don't know about the movability of those. Happy to be flexible if that makes a big difference to the board.
It does for me. I would like a seasonal application here of this issue.
So you would like them removed by November 1st, and they aren't out there until May 15th, say?
Something like that. Yeah, I would defer to Melissa to what would she propose as the seasonal application of these two lots?
I believe May 15th, assuming she can operate from May 15th through October 31st, that would work for the business, correct, Melissa?
That works for me.
Yes, I'm happy to do it the same months that we've done it for the past 4 years.
Is there a reason it can't be May 1st? I mean, we're already hitting good weather. Is that, we're not even in May.
That's true.
Yeah, May 1 to October 31st, that gets through Columbus Day and gives a little time to take it apart, and May 1 gives time to get it in there and stuff. So
yeah. What do you think of that, Paul?
Yeah, no, that works.
Okay, so we adding an 8? Is that basically it?
I think that's 7. Wasn't that 7?
Oh, I'm sorry. You said 6. Yes, this would be 7.
Okay. Anna, Jenna, do you have that? What we want? What our language was there?
May 1st to October 1st?
October 31st.
31st. Got it.
All right. Any more conditions anyone wants to add in? All right. So roll call vote on the conditions as proposed and amended and added to. Herb Bodensee.
In favor.
Paul Pinard. Mark Hansen.
I'm in favor.
Natalie Pittenger.
In favor.
And I am also in favor. So Ms. McCormick, Ms. Jankowski, we got you there. Sorry it took us a little while. We just have to check the boxes, and just because we like an idea doesn't mean we can make the idea happen. But I think we got to a good compromise there. So I wish you luck and have a great season.
Appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to final item of the night. Appeal number, can someone just, Aaron, are you there? You come back. Appeal number 2025-011. Michael and Florence Dowd have applied for a modification of special permit 2023-023. The applicants are proposing an addition of a 12-foot by 16-foot first floor deck, a 12-foot by 12-foot second floor deck, and relocation of a bulkhead as required by a condition of the building permit. The subject property is located at 25 Lafayette Avenue, Hyannis, Massachusetts, as shown on Assessor's Map 287 as parcel 045. It's located in the residence F1, RF1 district. I'm going to recuse myself and hand this over to Herb to assignment and take it from there. Herb, you got this?
Hi, I sure do. Does the applicant have a presentation?
My
name is William.
Members.
Oh, that's right. Oh, hi, give me just 1 second, please. I'm going to assign, let's see, Paul Pinard, Mark Hansen, Aaron Webb, and Larry Horowitz, and myself. And does the applicant have a presentation?
I do. My name is William O'Brien, Thomas Tomago Builders. I am representing Florence and Michael Dowd. They're our customers. And I'm requesting application to the existing special permit based on the house design, how the house is positioned on the lot, the proximity to the water and the southern exposure. We'd like to utilize the left side of the house to
Sir, can you hold for a
construct a
minute?
two-floor
Whoever
deck.
got the dog muted? Unless I can't hear. Oh, that's on your side. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What do you want me to do?
No, it's fine. Go ahead. I thought it was one of the board members. Go ahead.
So, you want me to start over again, sir?
No, good. Just continue. Thank you.
What is it?
You can have a minute if you need to feed him or something.
Well, I've been waiting 2.5 hours to feed him, but okay, hold on. I'll take care of
That's
this.
the problem. I was joking, actually, but go ahead.
For the golden retriever, I could manage.
All right, let's try it again.
All right.
Okay. Based on the design of the house, how it's located on the lot, its proximity to the water, and its southern exposure, we're looking to put a 2-floor deck on the left side of the house. It does not encroach the existing setbacks. And we're looking to modify the existing special permit to do that. Additionally, it was a requirement when we got our building permit that we had to put a bulkhead on this house because the previous applicant did not include a bulkhead in the design, and the building inspector said we had to have egress from the basement. So we have put a bulkhead in the back of the house, and it is shown on the as-built plot plan that I submitted, and it's shown on the building plans that you also have received.
Very good.
So I have.
Do you have any board member questions for the applicant?
This is Paul. The upper deck is already built, right?
Yeah.
The upper deck is framed. It is not completed. We had to stop.
With it. But it's there. It doesn't have a railing, but it's there.
It's framed, yes, sir.
I have a question on the what is that on the floor of that deck? It's not like wood. It looks like bronze something or other.
It's a rubber roof that we're going to put decking over, and it has a copper drip edge that goes around the outside of it. The rubber is pitched so that the water will run off the deck. The deck is actually going to be level, but there are sleepers so the water will run underneath the deck and run off the roof.
So the building inspector wanted you to get a bulkhead, and you went ahead with construction on the upper part of the deck. And then at some point, someone told you, building inspector or somebody else, that you needed to get a special permit.
I needed to modify my special permit, yes, sir.
Yes, but you didn't know that going in, I guess.
I did not.
It's all fine. And where you're putting the deck, it makes perfect sense to put it there, in my opinion. But
why do you need a special permit? Is my question for the deck.
Because he had an earlier special permit, and this is a modification of that special permit.
Right, that's what I wanted to bring up. So this is just because we had something in there that said if you wanted to build more outside the print, then you had to come back to us for approval.
Correct.
Yes.
Because it doesn't add anything or subtract from the setbacks or anything. It's just the deck is over the entrance, and the bottom deck is the entrance. So okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a quick question. So the bulkhead, is that what's indicated as 6.7 feet from the back property line? Am I reading that correctly?
You are, sir, yes.
Okay. And are we also looking at, because I'm assuming the setback is greater than, it's probably 10 feet, correct? Or no? But
No,
put it this way, is that a new,
existing building, the garage is right on the lot line.
Okay.
So can you say that question again, sir?
Yeah, so is the bulkhead now encroaching from the original, because we don't have the original, is the bulkhead now encroaching into the setback? Are we approving a setback?
Garage, the garage that abuts it is on the property line.
I understand.
The garage is on the, so the bulkhead is 6.7 feet away. It's the only place we could put the bulkhead. The building inspector put on my building permit, I had to put a bulkhead. I had to have it access to the full basement. Part of that basement is a crawl space. The only place I could put it was in the back of the property. And on the building permit, it states that bulkhead to be installed, location to be determined on site. That's how the building permit was issued to me.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that you originally had a 14-foot setback, correct? On the approved plan that you had prior.
Yes.
Okay, so now you have a 6.7 because you're pouring a foundation piece to accommodate the bulkhead. You now have a 6.7 foot lot line setback. What I'm wondering is, are we approving, as part of this, are we approving a variance to the setback at all, or is this just? See where I'm going with this, Herb? I'm just wondering. Is that part of it? I don't know.
But I see on the northeast corner, existing building like right on the property lines, on the north and the east.
But that was existing. Yeah, that was existing. So I'm just wondering, you're taking the dwelling now and you're bringing it back inside the setbacks. You're creating that. So I'm just wondering, I'm just trying to be clear about it. That's all.
Well, is that, sir, exact existing building? That's the garage you mentioned?
Yes,
sir. The actual house. I'm just going because I didn't know what the plans were before. I don't know if it changes anything. Do we have a setback? Are we approving a variance in setback? I'm assuming the setbacks there are 10 feet.
I don't think there are any setbacks.
We approved this before. We approved a variance on the garage, I believe, because it was on the lot line.
Right.
Now, the question is this bulkhead encroach upon the existing setback?
Correct.
And I believe it does.
And is that referenced in the application, I guess is my question.
That's right. So you're right, Mark. So we're asked to approve a setback well, I don't know if it's a variance or not, for the bulkhead as well as the two decks.
Correct. The two decks aren't really, yes, the two decks, but they're within the footprint. But this one jumps outside. So I'm just wondering, I was just going to read here. It says that they're adding a bulkhead, but it doesn't say anything about whether or not we are approving it whether there's a setback issue there. I don't know if there is.
Is that a variance or is that a special permit?
I'm not sure why we're talking about this, quite honestly. The applications, again, it does say, and relocation of the bulkhead is required by the condition of the building permit. Mr. O'Brien explained to us what the condition of the relocation of the bulkhead on the building permit was presented to him. The application is about a deck. I don't know why we're we're talking about a bulkhead. It's not really what I don't see that's what we're assigned to do here.
Because it's
That's my
such
opinion.
a location of a bulkhead.
Aaron,
What's that? I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
If you read it again, it says, and relocation of a bulkhead.
Right.
So yes, it includes the bulkhead. Okay.
As required by condition of building permit, but again, the condition of the building permit simply states, according to the applicant, that to be determined on site.
Correct, and it's been.
It does not grant, the building commissioner can't grant a variance or a special permit. Okay. The bulkhead could be put anywhere around the house. If they have to redig a basement or whatever, that's an issue. I think what Mark is saying is we want to be clear in terms of what we're approving here, or what's before us. And what's before
Well, the bulkhead has to conform to setback.
Saying going from 14 feet to 6 point whatever feet. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I guess I find this to be convoluted because, I think we should take them one at a time then, personally. I think we should look at the special permit, which is the application permit number 2023-2023, and define the parameters of the deck, if that's what we're willing to approve, and then look at whether or not the bulkhead in its location that is, and what, is there any, have you started work on the bulkhead yet?
Oh, yeah, the bulkhead's been poured, it's been framed, it's sidewalled, we were told we had to put a bulkhead on the house, so the bulkhead's.
It doesn't make any sense to me that a building permit would be issued with that language and then come back to us. If he doesn't want to do the deck, this would be a null and void. We wouldn't even be discussing this.
This is not true. If he's making a change to it and we're going into, they had a previously approved plan and we're going.
I know, Mark, but again, the only change he's making is adding the deck, right?
No, the bulkhead's been added.
But I'm not seeing that. I don't read it that way.
But look at the elevation on sheet number 2 on the Laserfish app 2025-11 Dowd 29 Lafayette Ave HY elevations.
We just need to know if it's meeting setbacks.
Yeah, I don't have that. All I see are the pre-existing building plans, aside, the elevations.
Yeah,
I don't see any site plan here with setbacks. I don't have that.
And you're on the Laserfish?
Yeah, I'm on it. It's just I can't get it. I can't upload it for some reason onto my laptop here, and so I'm using my phone. And again, it
says elevations. Difficult. That one says elevations.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Yes,
yeah,
please.
That would be great, Anna. If you don't mind, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I guess I just don't understand that he was granted a special. So I guess I need to go back to the history here. He was granted a variance or special permit for the addition that he's added, correct?
Yes, I was not the applicant. I inherited this project.
Understood. But is anybody from the board, is that correct? That we issued him a special permit for a addition to be put on?
The only thing I remember, Aaron, was that there was I think the issue of the variance for the garage, which was on the property line, and I don't know, because that was being rebuilt or whatever. That's what I remember.
Where is the garage? I can't see there's something blocking the slab. That's the garage right there, the slab?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's no construction to that building. We're not doing anything to that building at all.
Understood. Yep. And so, and where is the current bulkhead now?
Right here?
That's the bulkhead on the back of the building.
Gotcha. Okay, no, I can't see it myself, so this is the first time I've seen it. I apologize.
No, I apologize, sir.
No, that's okay. I don't, and where on that, real quick, Anna, is the proposed 12 by 12 deck going to be located?
Bill, is it right here?
Right there. Yeah, you're driving, but it's right there. It's that jog, that corner right there.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I just don't know. Had he not, so my question here, Mark, again, and Paul, comes back to, had the applicant not applied for a modification of special permit to proposing the addition of 12 by 16 first floor deck and a 12 by 12 foot second floor deck, and relocation of bulkhead is required by a condition of the building permit. So
it's not the deck, it's the relocation of the bulkhead. The bulkhead is going into what was previously not, I'm assuming, because I don't have this, I don't know who the original attorney was on this, but the original setback, I'm guessing, was 14 feet, which would have fallen inside of the 10-foot setback rule. Now there's a bulkhead there built that is now 6.7 from the lot line, which puts it into the setback, which means there should be a request here for a setback variance.
Yep, and I concur with you 100%. So you can see the 14-foot line runs parallel to the property line of the structure. So, well, should we take them one at a time, or do we want to?
Well, I don't know if you can split them up. I mean, Anna, this is really I don't know, how do we do this?
Would the board like some clarification about that bulkhead, whether it needs to comply with setbacks or not?
Yes, please.
Well, my question also, in accompanying that is that a variance request or a special permit request to extend into the setback?
I think it would be both, actually. You'd have to modify and then you'd have variance.
No, if it's a special permit, then we can carry on. If it's a variance, then it has to be split out.
True. Okay.
If it's encroaching into the setback for the first time, it will need a variance. But if it's already encroaching,
then my point is here, I think you've got, this special permit cannot include the bulkhead. It can include only the porches, and I don't know how to do that, Anna.
But I think special permit, which is what it was, 2023-23, it didn't deal with the garage that's got zero setback on the north and west lot lines, but it accepts those, and I believe those would establish that the 6.7 foot setback of the bulkhead is less non-conforming. I think the appeal could have been worded better to us, but the fact remains it's less non-conforming.
No, it's more non-conforming. It's more non-conforming. They're going from a larger distance to a shorter distance.
Well, the original variance,
the barn is pre-existing, and that's addressed on 2023-23. That zero foot setback is addressed.
No, Herb, I think what was addressed was the garage.
Correct.
I don't think that pertains to anything more than the garage. And so I think this special permit has to be, Anna would have to correct me here, it has to be withdrawn and resubmitted without the bulkhead, and the bulkhead has to come in as a variance.
I believe that's correct. I'd like some clarification, but I believe that is correct.
Yeah, if we had a lawyer representing the applicant, would be probably.
So, Mr. O'Brien, I think you need to withdraw. Ask for continuance and get this straightened out, because we can't help you with this. We're not. There's too much confusion here.
The garage is over 100 years old. Okay.
We get all that. And again, I would be in agreement to the applicant because, again, we did grant a variance for the garage to be abutting the property line. So going back to Herb's point, the bulkhead is actually, there's 6.7 feet between the property line and where we granted a variance to put. No. Okay. So I'm at a loss here. I am.
Well, the special permit did not deal with the garage, but I think the special permit accepted those setbacks.
No. I think you'd have to go back to the original variance.
Clarification on that. So could we not withdraw but postpone this hearing and get some clarification on these facts? I'm not sure how. Anna, how would we do that?
You could just continue it to either the May 14th or May 28th meeting.
Okay, who would go about getting this, I think, needed clarification?
Hold on here for a minute. I think we're asking, I don't know what the issue is. Are you asking for, is the bulkhead a variance or a special permit? Is that the issue?
I think the issue is the bulkhead even an issue? Because if we've accepted 0-foot setbacks on the backyard and the side yard setbacks, then 6.7 is more than 0, so it's satisfied.
No, wait a minute now. We accepted a 0 on the garage.
Right.
Okay.
It's still a structure.
Only.
But that goes with a property.
No, it goes with the garage.
Yes.
Where does it say? Where does it say only, sir? I need clarification here. I'm sorry.
Any addition to any of these dwellings that goes into the setback triggers that variance.
Okay, but the building permit that was issued to me told me it specifically said, and I'll read it again to you. It said that the bulkhead to be installed, location to be determined on site. The bulkhead had to go into a full basement. I couldn't put it into a crawl space because there's no egress from a crawl space in case of fire. So I had to put it in the back of the house. I'm off the lot line further than the garage, which is on the lot line. I submitted the as-built to the building department and they accepted it. When I applied for the decks, they told me I had to include the relocation of the deck because it's on the as-built plan. So I did that. And now I'm being told I have to continue it and I have to go for a variance.
Sir, you're a builder, correct? Then you understand when you go inside of a lot line, when you go inside the setbacks, that you have to get a variance. If that is how it goes, you're changing the dwelling from what the original permit was. This is what we're saying. It's not, and you've merged the two. If it is in fact moving into the setbacks from what the original special permit was, then you need a special permit for the decks and you need a variance request for moving into the setback.
Mr. O'Brien, you don't have anything from the building commissioner stating that the location where you put the bulkhead is acceptable.
Well, I've read you what it said, and I turned in my as-built foundation plan and they accepted it. I did that, after the foundation was inspected, I had to turn in the as-built foundation plan.
With the bulkhead.
And the as-built foundation?
I'm sorry? I turned the as-built foundation plan in, yes.
And it shows the current location of the bulkhead.
Yes, sir.
Plans get approved all the time like this. Come on.
Wait a minute now. The building commissioner doesn't have the authority to grant a variance.
No.
I'm not asking oh, good Lord.
This is pretty clear to do. You have to submit to break this out into two, and let's
Let's move on then.
Mr. Glenn, can I ask you a question, please? Hi. Did the subject of setback ever come up with the building inspector? Because maybe the building inspector saw that the garage has 0 setback on 2 sides. And he made the call that the bulkhead did not need a special permit or a variance.
Doesn't matter. That's beyond the authority of the building commissioner.
Well,
okay.
No, they are.
Yes, it is. So he's an enforcer. He's not he doesn't deal with land requirements. Our board does that. And what we're saying is that we believe that the bulkhead needs a variance and the decks need a special permit. If we agree to that,
I'm afraid to do this, but Anna, I'm afraid we're going to have to ask someone from the inspectional services to visit us on this one, because my opinion is that it has 0 setback to start with. So 6.7 feet is less non-conforming, and I don't see a problem with approving this special permit. Other members disagree.
Not for the building commissioner to interpret our decisions. If that's your question, Herb, then we go back to the decision on the variance of the garage. It's not the building commissioner's decision here.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, Brian Florence is trying to log on, so let's wait and hear from him first.
Great.
Oh, that'd be great.
Okay, so just a second, please.
Please stop.
I'm sure Brian Florence can answer everybody's questions.
I'm hoping he's going to tell me I'm right, but we'll see. That's why I'm glad he's here.
Or if we could see the original one that shows the bulkhead in that location.
But I don't believe that there was never a bulkhead in that location.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, that was never, yeah.
But why does the appeal call for a relocation of the bulkhead? Something
I'm
happened.
a little confused with that. Why is it relocated? Was it ever located? This is a new bulkhead altogether. It's not relocated, correct?
It's not.
Do you want me to speak?
Says.
Or did Mr. O'Brien say earlier? Did you say earlier that the location, the preferred or something location of the bulkhead would have gotten you into a crawl space, which is definitely you don't want to do. You want a full basement.
I think this was an addition of a bulkhead.
There was a bulkhead on the existing property that went into a crawl space.
Gotcha.
Okay. It was a brick foundation. It was compromised. When we applied for the building permit, they said there was no bulkhead shown on the foundation plan. And I'm not speaking for the building inspector. I'm telling you that they put on the building permit that we had to relocate a bulkhead, and it had to be where there was a full basement for egress. So, and it said to do it on site. And we looked at the garage on the lot line, and we said, pretty much what one of you people said, we're off the lot line 6.7 feet. We're further off the lot line than the garage is. We had to put the bulkhead somewhere.
Yeah, Mr. O'Brien, we are with you on this, okay? What we're talking about is a legal issue with respect to our responsibilities with respect to land. And all we're suggesting to you is that it has to be broken into two pieces, because one is a variance required and the other is a special permit required. We're not fighting with you. We're telling you that's our legal responsibility.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm here. I don't know, so what is the board telling me I have to do here?
So Brian is here.
Can we?
Brian Florence is here.
Okay, I'd like to recognize Brian Florence, building commissioner.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Brian Florence. I'm your building commissioner. Thank you for a moment. Sorry to jump in here like this. I understand from watching your presentations tonight that there's some question over the bulkhead. And Mr. Pinard, you are absolutely right. In most instances, the building commissioner does not have the ability to grant a variance or a special permit or any kind of relief from zoning for that matter. However, Mass General Law, Chapter 143, which is our building code, says that a zoning ordinance and no municipal ordinance can supersede a building code as it relates to a required means of egress. And by our staff requiring that bulkhead is a required means of egress from a basement. So it is allowed within the setbacks. The other thing I would note is that when you have a situation where there's a building that's under zoning, where you have a building that is closer to the setback than what is being proposed, that is the setback that rules. So in this case, I understand that under normal circumstances, we'd be looking at this bulkhead extension as a variance condition. It is not in this case. So I just thought you should know that.
That's all we needed to know.
That's good information. Brian, just out of curiosity, the setback of the garage, does that even enter into this?
It does, Mr. Chairman. That's what I was saying, that where you have what we would not be allowed to do is to allow the bulkhead to go closer to the property line than the garage itself is. So for zoning purposes, this would be a special permit condition because you've got a nonconformity already. Or it would actually, because of the building code itself, it's a required means of egress, and the local ordinance is not allowed to create a violation of the building code. And I'm just kind of trying to look that up for you right now so I could give you a reference. But that is the fact.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Florence.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, for bringing it up too.
And Commissioner Flores, just if this comes up again, does the bulkhead, would it normally have to, if it's able to be within the setback, does it have to be put there, or do you have the ability, because this particular one has which probably isn't ever going to come up again, where we've got an existing building on basically a zero lot line?
Yeah, so the reason that the bulkhead is located, the gentleman had mentioned earlier that he's a crawl space. There really is very limited room, and you can't put a bulkhead in a crawl space for any practical purposes. So he's located it there because that's where the full basement area is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and when you have a basement under the building code now, you're required to have a bulkhead.
Yeah, my question was if it had to go, like, say, as we're looking at the image, if we were to come up on the top side of that versus out the back, if it was possible to put it into a full basement there, is the requirement to put it in where it falls within a setback, or can it just go as far back as any other dwelling that's on the property?
That's a great question. So no, we require that the bulkhead go in the most compliant place that it could go. So for example, let's say it was just a stairway exiting from the property, exiting from the building. A stairway would require that it was the smallest possible dimension that it can be, so a 36 by 36 inch landing. And if possible, we would have them run the stairs parallel with the building as opposed to closer into the setback. So yeah, we look to see that you have the least impact on the zoning setback possible.
Okay.
So if
I
it
only
could
ask because it's probably unlikely that we come upon another property that has a 0 lot line on something else, on another dwelling.
Yeah, and these conditions actually, you'd be surprised, they come up all the time, and normally this would not get to you. The bulkhead issue would not have gotten to you if we managed, if we got it at your deck stuff, the stuff you're doing with the decks, I completely understand, but the bulkhead, a required means of egress, because the building code requires that no local ordinance can supersede the building code. We would not have sent this for that reason only.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
I have a question, Commissioner Florence. So they don't need a special permit for the location of this bulkhead. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it should not be part. So when we're considering this, all we should be considering is the decks, not the location of the bulkhead.
That's correct.
I just want to make that clear to the board in terms of what we're approving here, because it doesn't read that way in the petition.
Well, there's a further alteration of the existing special permit from 2023. So
it specifically calls out
to have it part of the.
Mr. Chairman, I think that you would be able to, if you wanted to reference 780 CMR, which is the building code in your findings, that section 102.2.1.
Yep.
102.1.1.
Municipal bylaws and ordinances. Bylaws or ordinances are promulgated in accordance with Mass General Law 143, Section 98. And what that section means is that you'd have to go to the state and ask permission to conflict with the building code. And they probably wouldn't allow it because it's a required means of egress. So again, it's 780 CMR is the building code. Section 102.2.1 is the code section. So if you wanted to reference removing the bulkhead from the decision tonight, you could make a finding that the building code supersedes the zoning ordinance in that regard.
I think we should do that.
So 780 CMR section 102.1.1.
102.2.1.
102.1.1.
It's 102.2.1.
Ooh.
Thank you, Commissioner Florence.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining.
Reminds me of that movie Clue. All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner.
I'm gonna go return to what I was doing, watching you folks on TV.
Wait for the ending. There's a surprise. No, there isn't.
Have a good night.
Brian.
Good night. Thank you. Okay. Moving right along. Do we have any more questions for the applicant?
Nope.
If not, I could request public comment. Do we have any? Hearing none, we'll bring it back to the board for discussion.
Let's
close public comment.
Close public comment.
Well, after the discussion, but do we have any discussion? I think we pretty much answered all our questions. So I will ask to close public comment. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Got to go through the list. So much easier in person. Paul Pinard? In favor of closing public comment, Paul?
Yes. In favor.
Mark?
Yes, in favor.
Aaron?
I'm in favor.
Larry?
I'm in favor.
And I'm in favor. Okay, so public comments closed. I would then move to close the public hearing. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Paul? In favor?
In favor.
Okay, Mark?
In favor.
Aaron?
In favor.
Larry?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. So
I'm
further
happy to make findings.
deliberation. Again, I don't think there's anything else to deliberate. Now, do we want to include, as Brian suggested, just removing the bulkhead from this appeal?
I think it's a good idea.
Yes,
As
and
it doesn't apply.
we'll reference on one.
Okay. So who wants to make findings on this baby?
Yeah, I'll make it go.
Okay. And did you read this ahead of time? I noticed on number 7 of the findings, if you read through the findings previously, my thought is just read through those, even though they don't really apply 100%. Like there's no signage that's been changed or anything because there's no signage. But okay, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, no problem. With regard to special permit number 2025-011 Dowd, Michael and Florence Dowd have applied for a modification of special permit 2023-023. The applicants are proposing an addition of a 12-foot by 16-foot first floor deck, 12-foot by 12-foot second floor deck, and relocation of a bulkhead as required by a condition of the building permit. The subject property is located at 29 Lafayette Ave, Hyannis, Mass. For all special permits, board is required to make general findings pursuant to 240-125C. Board should review the evidence presented by the applicant, staff, and members of the public, and after weighing such evidence is encouraged to articulate if and how the evidence contributes to each of the following required findings. Number 1, that the application falls within a category specifically accepted in the ordinance of a grant of a special permit. Section 240-125 allows for a modification of a special permit. Number 2, after an evaluation of all the evidence presented, the proposal fulfills the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected. Find that it stays within the proposal first authorized under the special permit. Site plan has been reviewed and found approvable with conditions. Site plan review is not required here. Further, section 240-94B requires that the board to find that any proposed expansion of the use shall conform to the established setbacks for the zoning district in which it is located or such greater setbacks as the zoning board of appeals may require due to the nature of the use and its impact on the neighborhood and surrounding properties. I'll insert this in 2 spots. I want to reference by building commissioner section 780 CMR number 102.2.1 subsection showing that in this instance the bulkhead does not does conform to the established setbacks. Number 5, the proposed use and expansion is on the same lot as occupied by the non-conforming use on the date it became non-conforming. Number 6, the proposed new use is not expanded beyond the zoning district in existence on the date it became non-conforming. Number 7, at the discretion of the Zoning Board of Appeals, improvements may be required in order to reduce the impact on the neighborhood and surrounding properties, including but not limited to the following: greater conformance of signage to the requirements of Article 7, the addition of off-street parking and loading facilities, improved pedestrian safety, traffic circulation, and reduction in the number and/or width of curb cuts, increase of open space or vegetated buffers and screening along adjoining lots and roadways. The applicant shall demonstrate maximum possible compliance with 240-53 landscape requirements for parking lots, subsection F, if applicable. Those are my findings.
Sorry for the extra reading.
No,
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Yeah, this is Paul. I second.
Okay, roll call vote. Paul Bernard?
In favor.
Mark?
In favor.
Aaron?
In favor.
Larry?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Do you have conditions?
I do. Referencing staff report, April 10th, 2025, I have suggested permit conditions 1 through 4 with a modification to remove and relocation of a bulkhead as required by a condition of the building permit at 29 Lafayette, Hyannis, Mass.
Okay, and Mr. O'Brien, have you had a chance to review these conditions?
I have. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And are you agreeable?
I am. Yes, sir.
Very good. You have your special
Absolutely.
permit? Oh, wait, we have to vote on the conditions. I'm sorry. Do I hear a motion to approve the conditions? Actually, I think I just asked for a roll call vote. Paul, are you in favor of the conditions?
Yes, in favor.
Aaron?
I'm in favor, Herb.
Mark?
I'm in favor.
Larry?
I'm in favor.
And I am in favor. You have your permit, special permit, sir. Sorry to make it so, but I think we all learned something tonight.
I appreciate your time and your help. Thank you very much.
No
Mr.
problem.
Bryan, we're all
Good
for
evening.
you. We're all for you. Thank you for bearing with us to make sure that this is appropriate decision.
I appreciate you working through this with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All
Have a
right.
good night. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. I like the bulkhead, by the way, the way it's not just one of those metal things. Kudos. No, I think Jake will be returning.
I am here. I think we're done.
Am I done?
We're almost done.
Yes, you are.
Yes, we're done, sir.
All right. So with no more items, we did not receive any correspondence that made it on the agenda. Any matters not reasonably anticipated from anyone? Seeing none. Upcoming hearings, May 14th in person. Anna, is that getting full with the sort of things we pushed there?
Yes, there's AAP and then 5 items, I believe, on the ZBA agenda.
Okay. And then May 28th, the remote, June 11th in person. I'll make a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call vote on adjourning. Herb Bodenseek.
Favor.
Paul Pinard.
In favor.
Mark Hanson.
In favor.
Aaron Webb.
In favor.
Larry Hurwitz.
In favor.
Rodney Tavano.
Favor.
And Natalie Pittenger.
In favor.
And I'm also in favor. Thank you, guys.